Welcome to part 2 of the React tutorials for beginners. So this is what we have done in the part 2. We have created the React basic React app, and also I have done npm start, and this is running at localhost 3000, just displaying hello world. So in this part we learn about the components in React. So let's get started first with the slide, and then we'll move forward. So what are components? So components are a React way to describe the user interface. So they are reusable, and they can also be nested within each other, which we will see soon how they can be nested within each other, and they are the main building block of React. So everything is divided into component in React, which we will soon see. So actually there are two types of component. One is stateless functional component. The second is stateful class component. But there is one thing which I have to tell, that the stateless functional component have gone through major change in React 16.3 2 years back. So what happened, that React is moving more towards the functional component, because functional components are very lightweight, and they are a bit less complicated than the class component. So what they have done, they have introduced the one of the most important concept of React in stateless functional component also, and make them stateful, the use of hooks. But everything is 100% backward compatible. So you will find code with using class throughout every production code base. Means every production code base right now, also in 2020 also, are mainly class based and not hook based. So we, at the moment also, most of the production code bases, we use functional component as a stateless, and class component only as a stateful, because most of the old React developers are used to that only. And slowly hooks is coming, and slowly the new things which are done are going into hooks. But see what happens, suppose a project is very old, means suppose 3-4 years old. So you can't update the uh, React version like this. It will be a major thing, and it will break the production project. So there are many cases in which we continue with the use of class based component and stateless functional component, which I'm going to teach next. Hooks also I'm going to teach, but it will be at the end of this series. Okay, so let's move forward. So as I have told, it's a component based architecture, and this is the example we have taken. This is a YouTube player which I have created in one of my other series also for React. You can go and check it out. So that series have got three important parts. One is the search bar, one is the video player which shows the video, and third is a list. In YouTube, as you get list, it was like that. So I have created three different components out of this, and all of it is in app.js, the top of it. So what is component? Component means, components are nothing but JavaScript files. So they will be JavaScript file, just like the app.js is app component. So they will be JavaScript file. So component types, as I have told, there are two types. One is stateless functional component. For as of now, we will say stateless functional component only. So the stateless function component is just a JavaScript function, just like welcome, props, and return h1, this JSX, which we will learn later on. Hello props.name h1, like this it is there. So yeah, and one more thing, this function is there. You can use arrow function also in the place of it. It's not required that the normal JavaScript function you have used, you can use arrow function also, and I generally prefer arrow function. And after that, there is stateful class component. So they are used again with the ES6 feature, which is known as classes were introduced in ES6 in JavaScript. So it uses class, but it extends React.component so that it can use many other thing in that. And one of the most important thing is that it should have a render method, and within that return. Okay, so let's now move forward, and we will see these things in code, so it's better to check this in code. So as I have told, this app.json, when I am coming, it is a functional component. Yeah, and one more thing, earlier react in react, this, as I have told in the earlier part also, this app.js is the starting point. From index.js we come to app.js. So earlier in React, what used to happen, this app.js was a class-based component, but as React is moving to a functional component, by default they are giving it as a functional component, the React team as at Facebook. So this was what we created earlier. So but what, as I have told, that in React we have component within component, and app.js is a starting point. So let me delete this what we have done in the earlier part, and what I will do now, let me now save it first, and so we will now create components. So components, there is some rules, or means you should follow this, and for a better coding experience, means it is not a hard line to use this, but you should use it. Means like in src, whatever the components, the user defined components will create within a components folder. So it is not required, but mostly you should use it like this: components. I will create a components folder, so the code is better organized. Components folder, and inside this I will create greet.js, and this is another convention, this greet.js. So what convention I am talking about? Let me close some of them. Yeah, we don't want all this. So yeah, so the convention is that the components are used with Pascal notation. So as you know, Pascal notation, the first one is capital, and if it was something bigger, the second one will also be capital. So this is known as Pascal notation. So we are going to use that in components. Again, this is a convention, but it is highly recommended, means this thing, the Pascal notation. So now we will create the basic functional component first. So first thing we need to do is import. Let me close this also, import, so that we can have more real estate. Import react from react, then const, as I have told that we can use arrow function also, greet, and then we have to return something, return. Yeah, this is required if you have multiple statements, and I generally do it, means even if I have one statement, I do it this. Simple brackets are required, but you have to take it to the next line, and then h1 hello world. Let me save it, but if I save it, there is nothing. How will some other component know it is there? For that I have to export it, and there are two ways to export it. First I will say that I will tell the first way to export it, and the first way to export is using the export keyword here. So you have to export it if you want to use a component in some other component, which is generally the case. So I have to export, I'm exporting it here. So what does the exporting it here means? This way is known as named export. So just know the term, and this is not the way we generally use, but there are a lot of times when you use this, means if there are multiple export are there. So this is not a named export. So how do we use it? So any component we make, it have to be used somewhere. So we will come back to the app.js and use the component which we have just created, which is greet.js. So for that I have to import and see this curly bracket. This curly bracket is, we are using this because that is a named export from components greet components greet, and then I have to use it like this. I am in this like this. A component is been used. So named export, and like this the component is been used. And if I save it, I will see the hello world like this. Okay, so this is how a component is been used. So I was telling that there is a named export, and actually there is another thing known as a default export. So the default export, what we do, we don't do it here. Export, we will write default and then wait. So you will see both of this way at a lot of places in a React code, but mostly you're going to see this. So this is known as default C, and the moment I save it, it is giving me error, attempted import error, greet is not exported from this. Okay, so like this, I have to come back and fix the error. So when it is a default export, you don't use the curly brackets, and let me save it now, and the error is gone. And one more thing with the default export is that it is not required me to use the same name by which I export. I can use greetings also, and I can use greetings also, but again this is not recommended way, because it will create confusion, because whatever I export I should import it by that only. Okay, so let me go back, because that is again not the recommended way. So let me do that, but anything which you feel comfortable is done, means there is nothing hard coded like anything is recommended or something. So the next thing which we are going to do is a class based component. So as I have told, so the class based component, let's again create a file in the components only, and that file will be known as welcome.js. Again notice the Pascal case. So and in class based component, import React. Again we have to import React from React, but there is another thing which we import. See, again this is something component, this is a named import, because there is a React file somewhere, React component somewhere, where we are going to import this. So this is a default and this is a named, so we have to import this component, because in class based component we require this. And then class C is small, welcome extends component. So extend component we're doing. So what is extend? Extend, if you see ES6 classes, extend is for inheritance. You can extend any other class. So we are extending this component from React, so then only it will be a React class, or else it will be normal ES6 class, and it is required in React. It is mandatory. You cannot not use it. It's extend component, it is mandatory. Then after that, render. This again, as I have told, this render is important, and this render is only in class based component, not in functional component. And inside the render the return will go. So then return, and return is like the normal return what we have used in the functional component. Multiple line we can use like this. P I am going to use. Welcome to the world of React. I save it, nothing will happen. There is one more step which we need to do to make this class based component available to the world, not the world to the another components within this file, because it is not globally available. Another components within this React project. Export default welcome. Okay, so I did it, and then I have to come back and I have to, as user, import it here, welcome, but use it here, but I have to import it also. Import welcome from components welcome. Let me save it. It is coming. Welcome to the world of React. As I have told, this is a hot reloading, so it happens instantaneously. This thing. So these are the two components, and there are something which we will summarize. So let me go back to my presentation, and so there are two types, as we can summarize. So there is a functional and a class based component. So the functional components are simple function, so it uses so, and one more thing, so you have to use the func component as much as possible, and it is the absence, it what is have, it have the absence of the this keyword is there. This keyword is not there, which we will learn soon why this keyword is not there. So it is the solution without the state, so it doesn't have any state in it. State we will learn soon, but right now it is that it doesn't have a state, and it is mainly responsible for UI only, and it is state, and it is a stateless term or presentation. Okay, so now to class based component, this is more feature rich, so maintain its own private data state, which we are soon going to learn, and it has a complex UI logic, very complex. So we are going to learn that also, because the state concept is a bit tricky when we are going to learn it. And it has got lifecycle hooks also, which we are going, this is different lifecycle hooks. They are mainly used to do API calls and all those things, so we'll learn about them. Then they are stateful smart containers. Okay, so this is about functional versus class component. So the next thing, as I have told, there is a major change. So next thing which I will tell again is hooks. So what I have told about functional component, it's a bit wrong in the previous part, that it is a stateless dump, because everything is changed now. So it is, but it is not a breaking change. So if you remember, there was a breaking change in Angular. See, first the Angular 1 was there, and when they changed to Angular 2, everything broke. So the code was not at all compatible, and it created a lot of chaos, and because of that Angular have lost a lot of ground to React also. So it is not like that. This hooks is totally 100% optional. Even in my production code I don't use that much hooks, so it is 100% backward compatible, means opt-in and backward compatible means you use it, you don't use it, you want a state in a functional component, okay, you use a state in a functional, you don't want a state in a functional component, you don't want a state in a functional component, as simple as that. It doesn't broke anything. So what with hooks we have the state and the lifecycle method to a functional component. Lifecycle method we don't have directly, but it is included in hooks only. When we learn hooks, we learn that lifecycle method. So, and the main thing which I will tell, that you should learn hooks after the state, event binding, and lifecycle method in class component, which we are going to all complete those. Then only we are going to do hooks. So like that. Nowadays, if you start a new project, you should start with hooks only. It is much better and recommended by React also, because the functional component are faster than the class based component. It is not like that you will not notice the difference, because React itself is very fast, but that is recommended way. But that is not going, the class based component are not going away anytime soon, so it will be always be there. Okay, so this it. So this completes my part 3 of the series. See you soon in part 4.